Hello, everyone. Welcome into our Marlo's matchup. My name is Brandon Adams. This is the former UJ All-American John Stinchcomb getting ready for Georgia and Texas A&M coming up this Saturday. And, John, a lot of the talk this week is centered around the rarity of these two teams playing as SEC brethren. A bowl game in 2009, a regular season game all the way back in the national championship year of 1980, but really not a lot of action since then, especially since the Aggies joined the SEC in 2012. How weird is it for you for the first time to welcome in Texas A&M as an SEC rival this Saturday at Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium?
Well, I think I remember back to when they joined the SEC, and that seemed odd to me. But now it's been so long, it's amazing. This is their first matchup.
Yeah, time really flies by. 7 years now of being in the SEC, but the first time for these two teams to see each other in conference play. And Georgia's return trip to Texas A&M is another dozen years out or so. I mean, it's really insane how long Georgia will have to wait before it finally gets a chance to go to College Station. But I guess that's another topic for another day. Our topic at hand is what's going to happen in this game. And obviously for Georgia, I think A&M represents a real challenge. You know, Vegas will tell you the Dogs are about a 2-touchdown favorite here in this game. I think there's an argument to be made that Texas A&M has a real chance to keep it closer than that. And for me, a lot of this starts with Kellen Mond, who, for Georgia, they've been in a streak where they play a lot of backup quarterbacks, and in some cases, third-string quarterbacks. But Mond's a starter. And in SEC play this year, he's actually played really well. Did not have a very good game against Clemson. A lot of quarterbacks don't. But in SEC play, Mond's kind of really found something for this Jimbo Fisher offense. And maybe of the names you have to know for Texas A&M, that may be the name you're supposed to know more than anybody else.
I agree with you. Start at the quarterback position because he's a playmaker. He's done. You look at the games they've won, and he steps up big. And granted, you look back at the Clemson game, not so much, but we're talking about Clemson here with their losses. Was it Alabama, Clemson, and Auburn?
Yeah. All
really good opponents, and Mond is a playmaker. So I think one of the concerns is his ability to create in this game, but I also think that's going to be tempered because of the weather.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. Like the weather, I actually, speaking as a Georgia fan here for a moment, I actually don't take it as great news that it might rain when it comes to trying to stop Kellen Mond. I think sometimes, listen, the idea of chasing Kellen Mond around for a full game doesn't sound all that much fun to me anyway, but the idea of slippery conditions for a defender trying to chase a very agile running quarterback, and Mond's not just a guy that runs, he can also throw it there as well, but his legs are a real weapon. I think if the field conditions are wet, I actually think it makes things a little harder when it comes trying to tackle and stop Kellen Mond.
Well, that may be the case, but at least it kind of makes them a little bit more one-dimensional. You don't have to worry about as the pass quite as much.
Right.
And I think that leans to Georgia's strengths on offense and their ability to run the ball with DeAndre Swift against a defense that hasn't been spectacular against the run.
Danny Horn on Facebook calling for a 38-13 UGA win. Listen, I could see Georgia playing well here. I don't know that I'm quite as confident as Danny is. What has he got, a 25-point win?
Well, I don't know if you get to 38.
Yeah. I do think, I mentioned this on Dog Nation Daily today, I do think it would go a long way for Georgia's confidence as a team to see the offense play a little bit better here against a defense in Texas A&M that, at least statistically speaking, is not quite as stout as the Auburn team from a week ago. You're back in the friendly confines between the hedges on Saturday as opposed to a hostile environment last week. Really, last Saturday was the last hostile stadium you'll probably play in all season long. Even if it's not 38-13, even if it's something just a little bit more comfortable than, a 7-point game like it was a week ago, I think that would go a long way towards establishing some confidence for UGA.
Well, I think you should be confident in Georgia and their football team just because they've won consistently against the big teams that they faced. Let's forget about the hiccup, if we will, against South Carolina. That's 4 turnovers, a missed field goal, a blocked field. That's insane. You don't expect them to have a game like that. And I think when the stakes are high, which they are against Texas A&M, against a quality opponent, which Texas A&M is, Georgia usually arrives and shows up for those games, and I fully expect them to do just that on Saturday.
A couple of YouTube comments here. Enrique Murillo says, we stopped Lynn Bowden in the rain, and he's a better scrambler than Mond. Listen, Bowden, the guy from Kentucky, is a great athlete. I don't know if he's a better scrambler than Kellen Mond is, but he's a terrific athlete. I do know that much.
I think it's good preparation. I think there's a lot of similarities there. I think Mond is more capable of creating plays during the scramble, and he's a dynamic guy, but I see this playing out in a very similar way.
Ken AV guy says it's less than I think he's saying 9/100ths of an inch at game time. So maybe it ends up raining, but not raining all that much.
Okay.
The truth is, I have no idea. I'm not a meteorologist.
And some of the meteorologists
I hope
don't
that's
know
true.
either.
Yeah, I hope that's true. I hope it is that little rain, because that would obviously be really good news all the way around. By the way, Mike D says, thanks for dressing up for the show, BA. Listen, this is my retro throwback tailgate apparel sweatshirt, Bulldogs across the front. This is my typical,
classy, man.
Yeah,
That's
this is my
vintage.
typical attire. First of all, I love the vintage stuff. I always do. I kind of veer always in the direction of kind of old school with my apparel, no matter who the maker is. But this is kind of like my typical apparel. I'm not usually dressed up more than this.
I'll tell you what, it's
We're
one
not
of the-
suits and ties around here.
That's a classy sweatshirt. It's got a collar built into it. I mean,
Yeah, listen, this is plus, it's one of these times right now where when the sun's out, it's kind of warm, but when you're in the shade or it's dark, obviously it's a little crisp outside, so the sweatshirt feels pretty good about that. But we certainly appreciate you all being with us here tonight. We're going to hear from Kirby Smart coming up in just a moment on the challenge of facing Texas A&M, more on Kellen Mond, also unique circumstances involving the Texas A&M running game. We'll talk about that. And in a moment, you're going to hear Kirby Smart also kind of bring up something that maybe some UGA fans planning on being in attendance on Saturday, beyond rain and weather, something maybe they haven't quite considered as of yet. We'll do all that with Kirby Smart here coming up as a part of our Marlows matchup here tonight. But speaking of Marlows, quick announcement here about some really fun holiday events that Marlows has coming up. A great chance for you to not only give a gift for someone that's on your wish list, especially that hard to buy someone, but also get something for yourself. This is something that Marlows does every year, and I always think it's great. So you can get a $50 gift card when you purchase one. You get a bottle of Michelle Brut sparkling wine. And when you get a $100 gift card, when you purchase one of those, you'll get the Michelle Brut sparkling wine, and you'll also get your own complimentary $20 gift card there as well. So listen, my advice is you can do with what you want, but buy the $100 gift card, give that as a gift. Keep the $20 gift card for yourself. That's just an add-on from our friends at Marlo's. What an amazing, you're making money right there. That's right. Plus, the Michelle Brut sparkling wine is like a really cool, classy thing to have here during the holiday season. So really fun special offer here from Marlo's. Getting you ready for a holiday season. $50 gift card as a special thank you to you. You'll get the complimentary Michelle Brut sparkling wine. And when you purchase a $100 gift card, you're going to get the Michelle Brut sparkling wine and also a complimentary $20 gift card there as well. So really cool stuff with Marlo's.
they're buying you dinner to come buy a gift card.
That is a great way to say that. So we'll also be telling you more about our big event coming up at Marlo's later on in the month of December, heading towards the SEC Championship. We'll talk about that tonight on our Marlo's matchup. But for now, as promised, Kirby Smart on the challenge of Texas A&M. What's it like stopping Kellen Mond? The issue with Isaiah Spiller in this Aggies running game. Also, maybe a lot of Texas A&M fans coming in on Saturday. Have you considered that yet if you're a UGA fan? Here is Kirby on all those subjects and more as Georgia gets ready for Texas A&M as a part of our Marlo's matchup.
Very much so. He is probably improved as much as a player from high school to now as any quarterback I've ever seen. I liken it to when Dak first went to Mississippi State and Dan took him and did all these really good things with him. Jimbo has really, this kid has a tremendous arm talent. We know the athlete he is. We know he can run, but that's not, it's not like you say, well, this guy's a runner first. He's a really good passer. And the beauty of it is he plays in a pro-style offense and throws to some really good weapons and checks things, moves things around, but is extremely athletic. And when I say athletic, I don't mean like, oh, he's going to scramble for a first down. I mean, when he takes off running, he continues running. And there's guys out there that just can't catch him. And he doesn't always look to do that, but when he does, it's extremely dangerous. So it makes you play him a different kind of way. So we've got a tough charge in front of us.
Kirby, with Spiller and Richardson, they each went over 125 against South Carolina the other night, and a lot of their damage was done when they're both in the backfield. I mean, they were clearing holes for each other. For years, we watched two-back sets, but with what they're doing, how unique is it, and how much do you see that, and how challenging will that be?
I hate to compare it, but it's completely different football, so don't misquote me on this. But it's like the triple option of today when you have two backs in the backfield because nobody knows really how to defend it anymore. I mean, Coach Dooley's back there. He could probably tell you how to defend it because you toss the ball and you run a sweep, and nobody knows how to handle a lead blocker. Now, they don't do that all the time. Don't get me wrong. But when they do it, they're very efficient. I mean, he still has option plays, and it keeps people honest. It keeps you from saying, well, I'm going to do an overload this way, or I'm going to do one of these unsound defenses to go attack the quarterback when they run an option play. And they do a tremendous job of it. They're very different runners, but he did some of those same things at FSU when he had Dalvin. He uses the stretch ball. He uses some different plays to really highlight the two backs he has. And they're running the ball more and more efficiently as the seasons. Like, you can see how they've gotten better and better and better at running the ball every game, and it really came to fruition against South Carolina. Yeah, I don't know how to make it happen other than a 9-game conference schedule. It's crazy that they've been in how many years? Y'all know better than me. 12. And so they've been in 12 since 12 or 12 years? 12. Oh, so it's not 12 years then. I got you. So that's how many years? 7 years, and they still haven't played Georgia. That's kind of wild to think about. But I know their fan base is passionate. From when we played there at Alabama, they bring. They will. You will see their fan base in Athens because they all want to make this trip, just like it'll be reciprocated when we go there, whenever that is. So, very passionate fan bases. It's sad that doesn't happen often enough, but our conference is big. And we got a lot of good football teams, so it takes time to circle it and go all the way around it. And I'm not really here to debate the 9-game schedule versus the 8-game schedule. It's just that's the way it fell, and that's who we got. I know this: their team is not intimidated by any environment. Okay, they go to Clemson and play. All right, they go to Tuscaloosa and play every year. They get to play at Auburn every year. They get to play at LSU every other year. That's not going to be what this game's about. They grew up in Texas high school football. 80% of their team is Texas made. So they got a good football team, and they got a team they're going to be in every game they play because they're well coached and they got good football players.
So it's interesting that Smart brings up the point of, hey, maybe expect a lot of A&M fans to be there. Obviously, first time kind of coming into Athens. I'm sure a huge alumni base in Atlanta. It seems like Atlanta is a hub for virtually every school in the country, Texas A&M probably included there. That's just something we don't see a lot anymore. That 600 level, the high level at Sanford Stadium, which is typically reserved for the visiting teams. For the most part, that's filled with Georgia fans more Saturdays than not because Georgia's about the only school left that really travels for road games. Georgia and Auburn travel back and forth to see each other because the schools are so close. For the most part, going to away games is just not quite as in vogue as it used to be. But if Kirby ends up being right, and there are a lot of Texas A&M fans who are here, that'll make for a little bit different dynamic than we're used to seeing in Sanford Stadium.
Absolutely. I think this is almost a rarity like what we saw when we traveled to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Athens is a cool place to be, and Texas A&M travels. And they've got a huge fan base. It's not a rival for us because we don't play them very often.
Right.
But it's going to be pretty unique in Athens to see a good quality team that travels well and their fan base coming into Sanford Stadium, which is just not a normal occasion for us. And let's be honest, even against Notre Dame, there wasn't a huge contingent of their fan base that traveled down. I think Texas A&M is going to be a little different.
A couple other points that what Smart brings up there that I want to make sure we address here. He talks about the running game, and Isaiah Spiller's had a pretty good year running the football for Texas A&M, and they do kind of try to run it out of some two-back sets for a good portion, which is obviously a little bit different than what you see from most SEC schools. But here's the other thing that I think John's going to be really interesting on Saturday. A&M has run the ball pretty well as of late, mostly playing easier teams than earlier on the season. But you go back and look to a game they lost against Auburn, fewer than 60 yards rushing. Game lost to Clemson, fewer than 60 yards rushing. I really believe that when Jimbo Fisher inherited the Texas A&M program, he inherited a program that just wasn't very physically tough. Kevin Sumlin, I don't think is a physically tough coach necessarily. I think that A&M still had some Big 12 DNA left in it as Jimbo Fisher trying to transition that over. And in some of the worst moments for A&M this year, they've kind of failed to show the physical toughness required to run the football. I think that's a key storyline for Saturday's game. Does that continue against a quality opponent and a defense in Georgia that's certainly been stingy in limiting rushing yards? Or is this an example of later in the season, A&M has suddenly gotten better at that and all of a sudden more capable of potentially knocking off a favorite team like Georgia than they were earlier in the year playing Alabama, Clemson, Auburn, teams like that?
Well, I think Texas A&M is efficient, and I think they're dangerous. I think they've got good pieces, and they're starting to buy into that system that Jimbo runs over there. But with that said, I think Georgia's defense is a freaky animal. They are one of the best in the country, arguably the best in our conference, which is the best in the country. So Texas A&M should be more fearful or timid, anxious, I don't know the right word, about what Georgia's defense does, then I think Georgia's defense should be about Texas A&M's offense. I think the way Georgia plays is different than most teams these days in that they're physical, they're disciplined. There's not one guy they rely on. It's a fearsome group that Georgia's defense puts out there, no matter what the personnel deployment is. And I think that's more of a factor for Texas A&M to adjust to than vice versa.
We're going to hear from Jake Fromm here in a moment. Let me say one more thing on A&M kind of before we get there. You know, obviously I look a million shows a week, and I talk to people in the comment section all the time. People reach out to me on Twitter at Dog Nation Daily, and we do this all year long. And so we give lots of opinions about college football over the course of all the shows that we do for the full year. And one of the opinions beyond Georgia that I express a lot, that frankly a lot of my audience does not seem to agree with, is I'm actually a pretty big believer that Jimbo Fisher is a quality coach. I know he's not super popular always, but I think he's a really quality coach. And, you know, Kirby referenced that with what he said about Kellen Mond a moment ago. You know, Jimbo has a history of developing quarterbacks very well, getting them into the first round of the NFL draft. Now, a lot of these guys haven't done much when they got to the NFL. Jamarcus Russell comes to mind. E.J. Manuel comes to mind. I guess Christian Ponder you'd add in there. Even Jameis Winston's kind of a lower-level starter right now. But Jimbo got him there. Got him paid, got him the NFL. And he's doing good work with Kellen Mond right now, too. Jimbo, when it comes to tutoring quarterbacks, is someone that I definitely have great success. I should say I have great respect for.
And recognize that the college game is different than the NFL game. He's able to recognize the talent, foster their skills, deploy them in a way that makes sense for the college game. Whether or not that translates to the NFL, that's not Jimbo's issue. I think what he's been able to do is identify and develop in a way that makes sense for his program. He consistently makes a great product out of whatever quarterback he's worked with. I've got the utmost respect for him. He's been around this league for a long time and has been very effective pretty much everywhere he's been.
On the same line, Neil Adams says if Georgia can dominate time of possession, has a real chance of winning this game on Saturday. What maybe a lot of people don't realize about that when it comes to Texas A&M is the fact that they're just as content to play slow as Georgia is. You know, Jimbo kind of cut from the same coaching cloth as Kirby, even though they're opposite sides of the ball. A&M does not want to run 100 plays on Saturday either. They like to keep the ball and control the clock themselves.
Well, I'm not a statistic maverick maven. I don't check all the stats, but I'm pretty sure Texas A&M leads the SEC in time of possession.
Yeah, good number.
When you look at 38-13, was that one of the projections?
Yeah.
I don't know if either team is going to have enough possessions for that many points just because of the pace of play. I think it's going to be a little bit slower game than what you normally see, especially across the board and maybe not just Georgia games. But Georgia's content with control. Let's manage. Let's limit our exposure to turnovers. Let's take our shots when we get a chance. But we're fine and very content and pounding the rock and having a 13 or 15 play drive that ends in 7 points. I think Texas A&M's built pretty similar.
Obviously for Georgia, though, to control the clock and even score the kind of points necessary to win this game, you need some offensive improvements. Coming up in just a moment, we'll let Jake Fromm talk about what he saw from his team against Auburn and what he still wants to see more of as Georgia heads through the stretch run. My name's Brandon Adams. This is the former Georgia All-American John Stinchcomb, and you're watching the Marlow's matchup here, getting ready for Georgia versus Texas A&M. Let me also put a couple other things on your calendar here for a moment, though. We're doing this show from in studio tonight, but because of what happened last Saturday, Georgia beating Auburn, that sets us up to be back at a Marlo's Tavern with you again here very soon. It's going to be the week of the SEC Championship game. Thursday, December the 5th, we're going to be live once again at the Peachtree Corners location talking about Georgia and what we presume will be LSU. Obviously, LSU's got to win against Arkansas for their chance to clinch that spot there, but we presume that's going to be the case. And here's what's really good news, is that night we're actually going to be doing something at a Marlo's event we've never done before. We're going to be giving away a VIP experience, seating for 4 right up there, up the front, getting a chance to talk to us. We'll have dinner for 4 provided for you there. Dog Nation also going to throw in a special gift card there as well. That is, so here's the email address to go to. It's dognationhelp@gmail.com. dognationhelp@gmail.com. We're going to notify you on December 3rd if you're the winner for the event that takes place at the Marlo's in Peachtree Corners coming up on December the 5th. The good news is it won't just be John Stinchcomb and me there. Also, as we head towards the start of the early signing period, Jeff Sintel going to be on hand as well. We'll be talking some UGA recruiting with him. So, man, a lot going on there that night at Marlo's in Peachtree Corners. And would love to have you register for your chance to win the big VIP experience, including dinner for 4 from our friends at Marlow's Tavern.
Tell you what, the time that Jeff came to the Marlows, you talk about great fan interaction. It's amazing to me how engaged and knowledgeable the fans are about the high school students across this country that have interest in Georgia. And there's not a better resource than Jeff's intel when it comes to recruiting and where Georgia stands. So it's always a good time.
So that's coming up Thursday, December the 5th. For now, the attention's on Texas A&M. And offensively, can Georgia take another step after, let's face it, 3 really successful scoring drives against Auburn, including a really well-executed drive at the end of the half. But beyond that, 3s and out all over the place. And you're 9 on Saturday against Auburn. What was good about the Georgia offense? What needs to improve? Well, after the game, from inside the, I don't want to say the locker room, but adjacent to the Georgia locker room, Georgia quarterback Jake Fromm talked to us about what he still wants to see from his offense. Here that is as part of our Marlow's matchup.
No doubt. There's definitely some positives in there. We did really good of kind of working our kind of packages and a couple of plays we ran. But there's still a lot we can work on and a lot we can do better. We still got to do a better job of kind of throwing the football at times. And we need to do a better job. And hopefully these next 2 games we can really work on it.
How much pressure do you think you guys put on the defense there in the fourth quarter?
Too much pressure on the defense there. For us, we need to go out there. We need to sustain the drive. We need to get first downs and help them out. But they answered the bell. Really thankful they're on our team, and I'm really thankful they pulled this one out for us.
Jake, can you talk about the throw to Dominic? Was he the primary on that? Or did you
he was not the primary. He's part of the progression. Looking at 1, he's number 2. He did a great job of reading the coverage for him. He can kind of do 2 different things there. He did a great job. He read the coverage right. He won on his man and made a great play.
And then the touchdown pass to Eli Wolf, obviously another play. Was that the main play on that?
Yes. So that on that one, that's a kind of play action, sell a really hard run there. He did a really good job of kind of blocking the guy for a second, a 1-2, shed him off and get him the flat.
Jake, what does it mean to go to the SEC championship 3 years in a row as a leader of this team?
It's special. Praise God for that, and for us, I think it speaks a lot about our football program, our head coach, and the guys in the locker room to come in and do whatever it takes to get there.
Jake, is it motivating late in the half? I guess you're on your 19-yard line. DeAndre gets 5 yards, and they call a timeout. They're wanting the ball back. Does that kind of motivate you guys?
Right. Help us out, and I think on us to kind of put a little chip on our shoulder there in the moment, and for us to really want to go down and score and really kind of put the points in our favor.
And then late.
Devin Glenn, watching us on YouTube, says SEC East champions three-peat, and obviously heard Jake Fromm there say he was very happy about that, being on his way back to the SEC championship game once again. Later on, before we're done, we'll also hear Eric Stokes talk about some of those same things. The pride of knowing it's 3 in a row for the Dogs in the SEC East. But, John, I also want to go back to something that you brought up on Dog Nation Daily this week, the notion of, and I love the way that you said this, that you are what you put on film, that a lot of folks are still hoping for that big breakout performance from the Georgia offense, but at this point in time, whatever Georgia is has likely been demonstrated on a film at some point in time, which I think is a very accurate and very wise thing to say. However, I guess for the Georgia fan who still wants to hold on to that optimism, how do you take what's on film from Saturday and get a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that? In other words, the drive to end the half is exactly what you want Georgia to do. 2 big DeAndre Swift runs, probably aided by maybe an ill-advised Gus Malzahn timeout, but then getting yourself in the red zone and then converting on that opportunity. The explosive play to Dominic Blaylock, that's definitely what Georgia fans have been hoping to see. How do you get more of that and maybe less of the 3s and out?
Wow, just put that on me, BA. How do you do that? Well, I'm pretty sure that there's a number of coaches over in Athens working on that very thing.
Sure.
The 3 and outs was a problem.
Yeah.
You just had too many of them. But I think the frustration for the fan base is you see the capability. You see the big play capability with Dominic Blaylock. You see and have seen it from other players in past games. And you see the efficiency that they can move against arguably the best defense in the SEC against Auburn this past Saturday. So I think that's where the frustration comes, is because there's ability in that locker room on the offensive side of the ball to do more. Now, like I said on Monday, you are what you put on tape.
Yeah.
And consistently, what we've seen from Georgia is that's who they are. I mean, they're capable at times of flashing, and otherwise it's a little bit of a mutter. I mean, it's
Right.
not always pretty. And against Auburn, that defensive front is outstanding. You review the film and you say there's a reason why Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown get so much love. They earn it, and they're not alone.
Barry Gully, also in our Facebook comment section, mentions third down conversions, something that Georgia had plenty of versus Florida did not have nearly as many against Auburn. And Kirby was actually interesting on that, going back to the post-game press conference on Saturday, saying that in some of those instances, the threes and out were actually kind of, unfortunately, contributed to by the fact that Georgia tried to go in a little bit of a tempo, hurry up, try to do something on first down, didn't get the play to kind of get started. All of a sudden now you have very quickly put yourself in a 2nd and 10 situation, and obviously Georgia, once it gets off schedule, the offense just doesn't work quite so well. So I think that Barry's right with the point that he brings up, and Kirby, I thought this week, had kind of an interesting explanation for why it was that some of those 3rd and long situations actually happened.
Well, I saw, when I went back, I saw 2 things that really stood out. The first was the safeties for Auburn made a number of plays right at the line of scrimmage. When you're one-on-one with the safety, that's usually a good thing for the offense. It just so happened that Auburn was pretty aggressive with their safeties. They were bringing them down as soon as they saw whatever their triggers were. They were firing and made plays in the hole, which DeAndre Swift is a guy that can hurt you if you miss that tackle. They didn't miss a lot of tackles in the line of scrimmage, so that's one of the factors. And then late in the game, there's a drop pass across the middle in the fourth quarter where we're saying, golly, why can't Georgia do anything? There was an opportunity to create that momentum that was missed, and you miss one of those plays. Georgia struggled to rally past, whether it's a penalty, whether it's a drop ball. Once you get behind in that series, they haven't always been able to catch back up, and definitely that occurred against Auburn.
Robert Jose on Facebook wants to talk about the UGA defense. We'll do that here in a moment. We'll also hear from Eric Stokes on that same subject. One more for me, kind of, on the Georgia offense here, that I do truly think that Auburn is a great, maybe too strong of a word, but not that far off. When you think about Brown, you think about Marlon Davidson, I think you think about a very good Auburn secondary. That's just a terrific defensive unit, very hard to score against. By comparison, A&M's not quite as strong. By comparison, LSU even is not quite as strong, and you get to play A&M in Athens, you get to play LSU in Atlanta, assuming LSU clinches the division here this weekend. Boy, there's a part of, I think, Georgia fandom out there that wants to hold on to that little bit of hope of maybe it gets a little easier against a certainly competent defenses, but not stellar defenses. Boy, that's one of the things I think you hope you get a chance to see on Saturday is Georgia just look more comfortable against a defense that's not quite as disruptive as what Auburn's has been.
Well, Auburn's defensive line is special. Let's start there. And it was good versus good. One of the strengths of Georgia's offense is our offensive line. So our best versus Auburn's best was a slugfight. I mean, it was just one of those heavyweight matches where they're going to deliver some blows, and we're going to deliver some. Yeah. And that's how the game played out. I don't see many defensive lines able to stay in the fronts that Auburn stayed in, which was primarily 4. They brought pressure, and I think they recognized what the strengths of Georgia offense and how we attack defenses and tried to do some things. They ran some quick TE games right away from the back, knowing that one back off tackle run is a primary staple of the offense. They brought a linebacker off the slot every time, not every time, but multiple times when back's away. Defenses are going to recognize ways to take away some of the things that Georgia likes to do. I think what allows you to do that is you've got 4 guys in that interior defensive line for Auburn that you trust. Contrast that from Missouri. They didn't have that same confidence in 4. Many times they had 5, sometimes 6 guys lined up across that defensive line, still challenging Georgia to do something other than run the ball off tackle like Georgia likes to do.
Robert Hosea talks about, hey, the challenge of stopping the Texas A&M offense is a precursor to taking on LSU. And I think one of the things that is a challenge and maybe kind of an opportunity for Georgia, as I kind of alluded to before, you can make a case that Kellen Mond might be the best quarterback that Georgia's seen all season long. It's debatable depending on what you think about Kyle Trask, what you think about Ian Book, but it's not obvious that Mond isn't the best quarterback they faced up to this point in time. And so seeing a Georgia defense that's been really, really stingy, continuing to do that against this group here on Saturday, I think would be a very interesting statement by the Georgia defense.
I agree. I think Kellen Mond, I have a great deal of respect for him. He's a playmaker. He can make plays in the air, and he can scramble. You heard Coach Smart talk about it. Not only is he dangerous as a runner, I think what he does really well is once he gets out of the pocket, he's still able to find the throws down the field. So those cornerbacks, those safeties have to respect the fact that Mond can move the pocket and still deliver strikes. He's not just a quote-unquote running quarterback. It's not a second or third running back in the backfield. This guy's got an arm. He's a good quarterback, and he's also a great athlete and can scramble.
We'll hear from one of the defensive guys with the task of stopping Mond in the Aggies offense. That's cornerback Eric Stokes coming up in just a moment here in our Marlo's matchup. Before that, let me remind you about a great holiday offer that our friends from Marlo's Tavern have for you right now. You hear us talking all the time about the chef-inspired food, the delicious new fall menu, and all the craft cocktails and everything else that makes a dinner, a meal at Marlo's Tavern incredibly special. And right now, you can share that gift with the people on your holiday list here this season, because when you purchase a $50 gift card as a special thank you to you, Marlo is going to offer you a complimentary bottle of Michelle Brut sparkling wine. And the savings get even better than that, because when you purchase a $100 gift card, you also get that Michelle Brut sparkling wine, but in addition to that, you get a complimentary $20 gift card for you to use for yourself or give that to someone else or anything you want to do. Great savings from Marlo's on holiday gift cards. Buy the $50, get the Michelle Brut sparkling wine. Buy the $100, get the sparkling wine as well as a complimentary $20 gift card. Really great holiday savings from our friends at Marlo's Tavern. So make sure you check that out as we head towards the holiday season. All right, for now, let's let you hear from Eric Stokes. One of the things that Stokes addresses here is the interesting semi-comeback that Auburn mounted for a while in the fourth quarter and just how great it feels to be on top of the SEC East once again. Here is Eric Stokes, the Georgia cornerback, as a part of our Marlo's matchup here tonight.
Nothing much. They just, we already knew that this was a real good team over there. So we already knew that they was going to hit their streets eventually and all this stuff. And after we just had to level we just had to stay calm and all this stuff and just go ahead and keep playing our ball.
How does it feel going back to the championship game?
It feels great. It feels great. To be honest, I'm really excited.
Texas A&M, you got to keep rolling though.
Oh yes. This is our next opponent. We got to go ahead and do our business with them.
When you're asked to make a pressure stop on the road, a score where they can tie the game, is that a different feeling than when you guys have been in for a while? You've been at home, you've been playing in some cases not close games. Is it a different feeling being in a spot like this where they're striving for a chance to tie the game?
Not necessarily, because I know that we practice this throughout practice every day to be honest, with the crowd noise, with everything going against you. We always practice 2 minutes, so after that, everything else just felt like natural.
There was kind of an expectation among many in the media, probably a lot of fans. This was going to be a low-scoring game, kind of dominated by both defenses. Was that your expectation coming in? And the way that it plays out, is it similar or different the way you thought it might be?
Oh, to be honest, I just wanted to win. So, that's what I can say. It didn't matter how we won. I just wanted to win. So I didn't even really know how the game was going to be, to be honest.
How much will you guys talk about clinching the East tonight? How much will you allow yourself to celebrate that moment?
Of course. This is one of our goals that we wanted. We want to clinch the East, and after that, we finally accomplished that. So then, but then after that, I know for a fact that we all got bigger goals and we want more.
Speaking of,
I love to hear that from Eric Stokes, the idea that it's 3 straight division wins. And I totally get this, and everyone watching right now understands that's not the ultimate goal for Georgia. They want even more than that, which sometimes makes celebrating the division a little bit of a difficult thing to know how happy you're supposed to be for that. Here's what I'm going to tell you. That history is going to be very kind on a Georgia team that won the division for 3 years in a row, just given how long this level of play has been. The SEC has been kind of divided into 2 divisions. The fact this hasn't happened yet, I think it's a significant accomplishment. And I obviously want to see Georgia do more than that this year, but I am going to pause and say, man, to be able to do this, joining teams like Alabama and Florida who've kind of done this themselves, that's a very impressive performance.
It's a big deal. This is a big deal. 3 years in a row, you owned your side of the best conference in football. That's a testimony to this team, to the guys in that locker room, and to Coach Smart. He was brought in with high expectations.
Yeah.
The bar was set at 10 wins. Average 10 wins. We want more. And remarkably, he's been able to answer that call. 3 years in a row, SEC East champions, and you're in the discussion for college football playoffs, played in a national championship, won some big games, including the Rose Bowl. It's amazing what's been accomplished so quickly from this staff, and the bar has already been raised. Now SEC East champions, hey, we're happy, but we want more. That's right. A good place to be.
We'll make our final comment of the night. Tammy Hancock, who says, let's keep the momentum throughout the game, dogs. And you heard Eric Stokes speaking about that at the initial portion of his interview a moment ago about the fact that Auburn did mount a comeback in the fourth quarter. You and I talked about that this week on Dog Nation Daily, and it kind of brings to mind some unfortunate memories of leads not held on to for Georgia, either games that turned into wins that got closer than they should have, Notre Dame comes to mind, or unfortunate games against Alabama where leads could not be held on. Georgia lost those games. Is that a concern going into the stretch run here, SEC championship looming, hopefully an appearance in the college football playoff after that? Does Georgia have a closing out games problem?
I don't know if you remember this or not, but 5 weeks ago we're sitting in a Marlow's, and the discussion is, why is Georgia starting off so slow?
Yeah.
And in Auburn, the third play of the game, they drop a 50-plus yard bomb
Good point.
to Blaylock.
Yeah.
And now it shifts to, well, what about the fourth quarter? So that's football. Football, you're going to have ebbs and flows, and games change, and they're not always going to be the same. But do I think Georgia has a finishing problem? No, I don't. I think that's the way that game played out. There was the series where Auburn gained some momentum. It had been relatively tight coverage the entire game for Georgia's defense, and they found some holes. They score 7. They stop us 3 and out. Georgia wasn't able to convert and had the opportunity to extend a drive. And all of us, it wasn't a great fourth quarter. But do I think that's a consistent problem? That hasn't been what they've displayed all year. Hopefully it's just an anomaly and something that played out against Auburn.
By the way, our buddy Green Soldier is at the Avalon location of Marlo's Tavern right now. He says, what should I order? My suggestion would be something off this brand new fall menu. And Green Soldier, this is totally unplanned, so I appreciate you helping us out with this. How about the creamy brie, the fondue starter, which comes with like a creamy brie, a white wine served with pretzel bread. You got a brand new cocktail, the blackberry mojito. How good does that sound? Also, kind of cool night like this, roast turkey meatloaf, grilled center cut filet, blazed bone-in chicken, Southwestern buffalo chicken wrap. So lots of really good new fall menu items there, Green Soldier. So I hope you enjoy your meal there at the Marlo's Tavern in Avalon, one of the real beautiful locations of Marlo's Tavern. And by the way, as we get ready to say goodbye, I'll also remind all of you to be with us Thursday, December 5th, when we're at the Marlo's and Peachtree Corners for our Marlo's matchup, looking ahead to the SEC championship game. Going to be a good one. There's the address, 5210 Town Center Boulevard in Peachtree Corners. It all goes down. John, me, Jeff Sintel to talk some recruiting because we'll be only a couple of weeks out from the start of our early signing period. It all goes down 6 p.m. Thursday, December 5th for our Marlo's matchup live at the Marlo's in Peachtree Corners. And for the very first time ever, we're offering a VIP giveaway, which means kind of premium seating up near the front of the room for 4, dinner for 4, courtesy of Marlo's Tavern. What a great opportunity that's going to be. Dog Nation going to throw in a gift package there as well. Please register for your chance to win by simply sending an email to dognationhelp@gmail.com. You can just like throw Marlo's in the subject matter, the subject line. That'll help us out. But dognationhelp@gmail.com. Register for your chance to win. Just say, hey, I want to win, and obviously give us some contact information. Winner going to be notified on that on December 3rd, heading for the big event there on Thursday, December 5th. That's going to be a lot of fun. But, John, from you, final thought as Georgia gets ready to take on Texas A&M on Saturday. What's on your mind here a couple of nights out before the game?
Well, first thought is congratulations on being SEC East champions for the 3rd year in a row. It's a big accomplishment, and luckily that's not the main goal. There's still so much more on the table left for this team, and the next step in that journey goes up against a good Texas A&M team that is in our home. Yeah. So back in Sanford Stadium last time for this 2019 season, I'm excited to see the Dogs play the way we all want them to, putting together a complete game.
2 quick final thoughts from me. First of all, loved taking some comments on tonight's show. I also really enjoy seeing the interaction with many of you talking back and forth with each other. That's a fun thing for me to watch, the Georgia conversation taking place on both our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter feeds as we continue to broadcast this show. So really appreciate all of you, your interactions with each other, and I would certainly like to read as many comments on air as we're able to throughout the program. And one more thing about Saturday, my challenge to all Georgia fans, for the seniors playing their final home game, for the crop of juniors, some of which will also be playing their final home game, and the fact that this is a difficult opponent that's coming into Athens looking to pull an upset. I think the challenge here for Georgia fans is to be at their best, loud in the stadium early, really creating the best atmosphere possible. We've said before that for us, this is really about being your best for the last home game for a lot of these guys. We'll be playing in Athens on Saturday, and I think that's a really fun thing to kind of be able to keep in mind, so enjoy doing that. And before we say goodbye, I'll also remind you that as we head towards the holiday season, there's always tough choices about what do you get for so-and-so, what do you get for somebody else. Well, I know that many of you who watch our Marlows matchup each and every week, you see the hover helmet right here on the desk in front of us. This thing floats suspended in midair. It's really a work of scientific marvel. I don't think that's too much of an exaggeration to say that. I have no idea how this technology works, but it works for us each and every week. And if you've got a desk or a basement or or someone that has a great place to put this is an amazing, amazing holiday gift. If you go to hoverhelmets.com/DogNation, use the promo code DogNation, you can save 20% off while supplies last on that. So it's hoverhelmets.com/DogNation. Then use the promo code DogNation. I don't know why I'm leaning in so much.
I love it. We're in it. Hover helmets.
We're like really leaning in on this now. The point is, it's an awesome holiday gift. You see the website, hoverhelmets.com/DogNation. Use the promo code DogNation to save 20% off. Hey, thanks so much, y'all, for being with us here for the Marlows matchup. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for Dog Nation Daily. Look forward to seeing John Stinchcomb back on that program on Monday there as well. John, enjoy the game. All of you enjoy the game as well. We'll look forward to seeing you back next week again for another edition of the Marlows matchup. Talk to you then, everybody.